Folks, we're back. Surprise, surprise. Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. We have another California candidate. This time we have, get this, folks, Steve Satan Hill, congressional candidate for California's 25th district. But before we get to Mr. Hill, Jim.
No, actually, I don't really have anything I've already talked about. Well, I guess I'll just say this real quick. And this is the last thing I'm going to say about Afghanistan. It's interesting because even my neighbors.
Which one?
4 of them. And they're all very, I wouldn't say left-leaning. Like, they're not like some crazy left-wing liberals or anything. Mm-hmm. But they're a little left of center, which I have no problem with. You're a little left of center, a little right of center. Cool. Be you. They're great neighbors. They don't bug me. But even they're upset with this whole Afghanistan thing. They said, yeah, 20 years is too much. We should get out of Afghanistan. But it's how we did it.
You know, this is a good question.
And that's what they were upset about, is how
we got. This is a good question we should ask a congressional candidate.
Yeah.
In fact, a Marine veteran, too,
right. Yeah.
To hear his take on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Hill.
Yes, sir.
Bio, please.
I was born on the north side of St. Louis, summer 1961, about 2 weeks after the greatest president this country's ever had. That's Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. I joined the United States Marine Corps at the age of 17.
Hoorah. Thank you for your service.
Have a long history of military service in my family. I have people in my family that fought all the way back to the Civil War. My father was in World War II. My brother fought in Vietnam. I have another brother that's a retired United States Marine. Okay. I myself did approximately 5 years in the United States Marine Corps. My MOS was 2161, which is a basic machine shop machinist. I was deployed mostly with 1st Tank Battalion and 3rd FSSG in Okinawa, Japan. Pardon me?
How long were you in the Corps?
Approximately 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. I had actually re-enlisted. Yeah. Okay. But, bio.
What years were you in?
I was in from January 1979 to...
You missed Vietnam.
Yeah, missed Vietnam. But I still have a beef with Ronald Reagan because 242 of us were blown to bits in Beirut, Lebanon.
Yes.
And instead of us going in there and kicking some ass like we should have done, Ronald Reagan cut and ran. And I blame him for 9/11 because had he displayed the true strength of the American armed forces when we were attacked in Lebanon, we probably wouldn't have never had a 9/11 because they would have known not to mess with us.
You know, funny you say that because I say the same thing about George Bush Sr. because we were in Kuwait, about 100 miles away from the Iraqi border.
Correct.
To go in there to kick ass with the Republican guards, and then the war was over. So I figured if that took place, there wouldn't be a 9/11.
Right. We had plenty of opportunity to display, our military strength and our resilience into having people see things our way from a military perspective.
Since we're on that subject, Afghanistan was Jim's question. What's your take on the current information?
My take on Afghanistan is we should have never been or retained our troops there for a country building exercise to occupy. We should have went in there, defined the mission, took out the necessary people, the terrorists.
But they're still there, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
20 years later, they're still there.
Right.
I mean, haven't we learned anything from Afghanistan? Okay. That's where empires go to die. Didn't we learn anything from Russia?
Nope.
With their escapade into... We don't learn. That's our problem.
So we're there too long, 20 years.
We're there too long.
So how do you feel about the current administration given the Taliban information on people that we needed to get out of that country?
Well,
kind of supposedly
Trump orchestrated this whole deal with the Taliban. That was before the current administration took office on January 21st. Trump had already arranged this deal with the Taliban. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but it sounds like they were negotiating with terrorists.
Right.
But you have to leave some kind of viable government structure in place so you don't have total anarchy in a country, which would have been blamed on us also.
Do you think part of that negotiation was to leave all those billions of dollars worth of fighter jets, helicopters, tanks?
Yeah, well, they were all made inoperable
Humvee.
before we left. They were all made inoperable. You're not going to all of a sudden see Taliban flying, CH-41 or Cobra helicopters.
Isn't normal protocol they're supposed to like completely destroy? How do they make it inoperable? I mean, they could still sell parts off of it.
Basically snatch some wires out and destroy the computer system, and you can't fly that helicopter or that plane.
What about the weaponry and the ammos and the drones and all that?
Well, I know on a 101 howitzer, we have incendiary grenades that all you have to do is drop an incendiary grenade down the barrel of one, and you will melt the nomenclature cannot function.
Isn't it normal protocol? The military is the last supposed to leave. They're supposed to evacuate the civilian populace first.
Yeah, well,
and not evacuate the military first and leave a skeleton crew to get the remaining civilian occupants out of the Americans.
I'm not saying that this thing was done in a manner, or the evacuation was performed in a manner that would be conducive to getting everyone out at the same time. But when you set arbitrary deadlines to get out of a place and you want to keep your word, then you do whatever it takes to keep your word. Your word is the only thing you have.
Right, and I agree with you on that point.
I got one more for him.
Okay.
I got one more for him. I got one more for you, Mr. Hill, regarding the Afghanistan.
You can call me Satan.
Okay, I got Satan. You sure? Okay, Satan. I got one more for you regarding Afghanistan. Okay. When Biden took over, he said that he was going to get rid of all of Trump's executive orders. That means all of his deals was off the table.
It's kind of like the same thing that Trump did to Obama.
So then, if that's the case, why say Trump did this deal and I'm going to run with it? If you initially said, I'm going to get rid of everything he did.
Well, I think Biden's main objective was to
you're in or you're out.
I think his main objective was to get our troops out of Afghanistan. Because the extended period of
with
time
the exception
and the
of
blood and the
behind.
treasure. Oh, don't worry. I'm pretty upset about those 11, 12 Marines.
11
were blown
Marines, one corpsman,
One
Navy,
corpsman.
and one soldier.
Yeah, some of them were WMs.
Yeah, two.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about the way that happened. It could have been performed in a much more thoughtful manner. But when you have time restrictions in play and factors that sometimes get out of your control, you do what you have to do. Marines are good at adapting and adjusting and being flexible. Hopefully, our president was thinking along this same thought pattern, where you have to do things sequentially to save as many lives and be as effective as possible. They got how many people out? 160,000 people? I mean, that is unheard of from a logistics perspective, just to get that many people out of the country. Was it perfect? No, but you know what? When you're dealing with terrorists, the Taliban, and you got ISIS-K, what's the K for? Karen?
Right.
I don't know, but you're
dealing
dealing with all of these factors and variables that you have totally no control over. So you do what you can.
You know what I want to talk to you about, Satan? I want to talk to you about, since you're running for California's Congressional District 25, right?
Correct.
I want to talk to you about the three strikes law.
I'm a retired correctional officer, so I would love to talk to you about that.
And you didn't mention that in your bio. Because I thought that's something that needed to be put out there.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You're a retired correctional officer.
Correct. I worked at 2 different maximum security prisons, CCI, which is California Correctional Institution at Tehachapi, and CSP LAC, which is California State Prison, Los Angeles County, the only state prison within the bounds of Los Angeles County.
How long were you a CO for?
Approximately 10 years.
That's a long time. My neighbor behind me was a CO here in one of the state prisons here. And he was a former Navy guy. Mm-hmm. But I need you to tell me about this 3 strikes law and how does it work and is it constitutional?
Well, any legislation that's brought on that brings about certain laws is, it doesn't necessarily have the requirements of being constitutional. But if you really want to talk about the constitutionality of it, we would also have to talk about the righteousness of it, the fairness of it, especially to a certain demographic in the community. Now, I worked there mostly the decade of the 90s. Okay. All of those inmates were typically people of color who were selling drugs, illegal substances at the time, crack, marijuana. Now think about it. Cannabis is now legal in California, been there for years. You want to know who's not making money off cannabis right now? Black people. African Americans.
Just say the cartel.
No, they're making money. They're making money, especially in the 25th Congressional District. You don't believe it? Ask Mike Garcia. Anyways,
who's that?
Mike Garcia is actually a pretty good guy. He's a friend of mine. Hey, Mike. He's the current seat holder. He beat Katie Hill in the special election 2019 because of alleged sexual misconduct with a staff member. But that's Mike Garcia. He's been running raids out in the high desert where I live at, where I also have been appraising real estate for 18 years.
He's been running raids. Is he
with the sheriff's department and all of these illegal grows that are there? They have been eradicating the crops But I want to know, as a real estate appraiser, I know that every parcel has an APN number. That's an assessor's parcel number. Why are they not talking to these landowners, finding out, don't you know who's growing what on your land, and taking their property from them? Back in the 90s, when drug dealers were doing that thing, they were confiscating houses, vehicles, any materialistic gains that drug dealers may have, they were confiscating it. So if there's marijuana illegally being grown on land in our district, why are we not addressing this and talking to the property owners, the people who own the land?
I know Santa Barbara has a whole lot of marijuana grown out there. Mm-hmm. I think marijuana's taken over all the grapevines. But what are your boundary lines for Congressional 25?
Well, basically it's North Los Angeles County and a small section of Ventura County, a very special place in my heart called Simi Valley.
Simi Valley.
Yeah. Those,
Why is Simi Valley special to you?
Well, the Simi Valley is special to me because those are the people that I directly hold responsible for giving us the Los Angeles riots, because the Rodney King court case was moved out to Simi Valley, where the demographics are totally different than they are in South Central Los Angeles.
You know something? I'm glad you brought that up, Satan, because I always wanted to know this. And I was living in Laguna Hills in Southern California when the riots came out with Rodney King. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I always wanted to know, why are the folks that live in that neighborhood burning down the same damn neighborhood they live in? Me? I would have got a whole caravan, jumped on some Greyhounds. I would have went to Simi Valley and burned down that neighborhood. That's what I would have did. I wouldn't have burned down my own neighborhood.
And you would have been looking just like those people that were trying to get out of Kuwait when the U.S. troops showed up. You remember what that freeway looked like? You would have had a whole lot of black people burning up in cars because you black people are not going to reach Simi Valley. So you had to stay in your own community to show your displeasure, to show your disdain for the system.
And I actually agree with what you're saying on that point. It's like when the Rodney King stuff was going on, I was living here in Vegas, and we had like nothing like what happened in California, but we had riots on the West Side, right? Mm-hmm. And people said the same thing. They're like, well, why are they burning down buildings in their own neighborhood? I'm like, oh, if they go up to Summerlin and pull that shit,
right,
I guarantee you some stuff is going to go down. Right. But they're fine. They'll just quarter it off and say, hey, let them do what they want. But it also brings up a bigger question, though. Why do it, though? Why are you going to burn down something in your own neighborhood? Why don't riot at the polls?
Because to rebuild the system, sometimes you got to burn it down.
To be heard, yes, I understand that point. But my whole thing is, since you're running for Congress, my whole point has always been this, and maybe it's just, my upbringing or whatever. Like I always say, yes, there are times that you need to, I believe the system does actually work, but sometimes you do have to yell loud enough. You have to get out in the street. You have to protest. You got to have your voice heard that way. But where I get frustrated is like the same people that are willing to go to the street and are willing to protest. If you look at the voter turnouts in some of those areas, they're super low. Mm-hmm. So why are they not having their voice heard on two different levels?
Well, let me tell you, in this country, they don't want us to protest at all. We can't protest violently. As you can tell by Colin Kaepernick, we can't protest peacefully. Now, they're like, everyone has a big problem with taking a knee. Why not take a knee? How many people died from taking a knee? The thing is, they don't want us to protest at all.
Okay.
They say, oh, well, don't protest at the game. That's not the place to do it. Well, where do we do it at? The thing is, they don't want us. If we protest at a place where you can't see us, how the hell do you know we're protesting?
You're making my argument for me. Protest at the polls.
Well, that goes to leadership. When you don't have people in the community, and for it's a deeper conversation, but rioting is a vitriolic response to the people who are unheard.
No, I understand that.
So,
but you're not gonna change anything unless you vote these politicians out of office.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I plan on acquiring is the power of the people to vote the people out of office.
And that's why I'm glad you're on the show.
Yeah.
I applaud you for doing that. But how are you going to get that communicated to people that like, hey, and trust me, I'm for dissent. I think that is perfectly fine. The First Amendment, I'm perfectly fine with that. Mm-hmm. It works both ways, though.
Exactly.
So the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, I'm like, hey, I wasn't pissed off that he took a knee, but at the same time, I was glad he lost his job.
Why?
Because I didn't agree
with dissent? It. Oh, because you didn't agree with it.
But I have. I'm allowed to disagree with it, right?
Of course you are.
Okay, so if he's allowed to take a knee, then why can't I disagree?
You can. But why would a president, commander-in-chief, get on national TV and scream, get that son of a bitch off the field? Why would you do that?
He could have used a little bit more.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But I agree with you on that. No, he was wrong.
But remaining civil,
he was wrong
and more respectful.
I am not down with taking a knee for the national anthem because you have a problem with race issues with the police. I am down with getting rid of the police chief. I am down with protesting at the police station. Mm-hmm. I am down with all of that stuff because the national anthem is exactly that, national anthem. And you being in the Marine Corps, hold on. I'm sure. You being in the Marine Corps, you know that's what they play when the military come on the field.
Of course.
It's a military tradition.
Dog and pony show. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's still a military thing.
Of course, tradition.
And you know what pisses me off is when somebody tells me that I burn the flag because you guys, veterans, gave me the right to do so. But on a veteran perspective, we died for that flag, some of us, right?
Correct.
Some of us got mental problems.
Yes.
Some of us have physical
PTSD, yes.
And for somebody to say that, well, you gave us the right to burn the flag, that's just very upsetting to me.
Okay, but weren't you in a uniform to protect our freedoms?
Yes.
Okay, well, shouldn't you be free to show your disdain for your country and its systematic?
Yeah. Go in your house, go in your backyard, and burn all the flags you want.
So if we protest, don't protest where we can see you.
But
then how do you know we're protesting?
But you can't protest by burning the flag. You could protest by getting rid of that person out of office, getting rid of that person out. But burning the flag is a whole different level for me.
Okay, well, that's just because ideological symbolism.
And the reason why I say that, because we've done a lot of protests against family court corruption. But where do we go? We go to the family court and we protest while the judges are there. That's how we do it.
Okay, don't forget to ask me something about my $1.1 million lawsuit I have against the Sheriff's Department.
I want to hear about the national
anthem. Let's go back to the national anthem.
Okay.
Now, you gentlemen are familiar that in the third stanza of our national anthem, there's a reference to slaves.
What does they say?
I'll paraphrase it, but it basically says, and if slaves want to jump up and fight, you'll catch a beat down too. Now that's just me paraphrasing.
I got to hear the national. I never remember hearing that.
Third stanza, it's in there. Slaves or something else, whoever else doesn't like it, you will catch a beat down too. It's in there. It's in our national anthem where they reference slaves.
Could you bring up
Google that?
Anthem?
Google it. Check the third stanza of the national anthem. He's going to repeat that for us. Now,
could you play it?
Yeah, play. Yeah. I don't think we don't ever sing that part. Just like we don't ever talk about racism, we don't ever sing that part of the anthem. But now I have a $1.1 million lawsuit. You guys reference going to court and doing things legally. I have a $1.1 million federal claim against the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. As a real estate appraiser, I had a deputy sheriff track me down to my house because he saw my license plate, which reads "For Satan." Tracked me down to my house and asked me, "What are you doing? What were you doing in my neighborhood, and why were you there?"
It's not his business.
Exactly. And you know what? It's been a year and a half, and I still don't have a hearing to have my voice heard.
Do you have an attorney?
I have an attorney. And the thing is, the attorneys are in on it too.
No.
We go to court. Everybody knows each other except for us.
Yeah.
The system works against us. Trust me. And, this is part of the reason I'm running for Congress, is to shine some light on that horrible relationship that Black people have with law enforcement. And part of that reason is because law enforcement and politics are too closely intertwined together. They cannot ever say anything about law enforcement because they utilize them as a tool for re-election.
Right.
That's why we don't ever get any justice. It shouldn't be that we have to get killed and march in the street before anyone brings up this shotgun wedding of Blacks in law enforcement.
You're talking about the George Floyd?
George Floyd, yes. And this incident that happened to me happened before George Floyd was even murdered. And I don't even have a hearing yet. His murderer is sitting in prison, and I don't even have a hearing yet. The system works against us in every way.
Did you ask for a speedy trial?
Everybody's in right to a speedy. That's our right as an American.
It's actually a part of the 14th Amendment.
Is your trial by jury or by bench?
By jury. I want a jury trial because I want everybody to see the Is this a family show?
No,
Because I like to speak freely.
You can speak freely.
Okay, I'd like for everybody to see the bullshit that an African American goes through when peacefully and legally trying to complain about law enforcement.
Right.
This is what happens to us.
I sued the LVMPD, which is the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, in federal court for violating my constitutional right. Filed suit in December. They settled with me in March. The amount wasn't much. It was 20 grand. But that was because they searched my vehicle illegally on a traffic stop. And I sued them and they settled. So if more and more people do that and more people know their constitutional rights, we could get a lot further with what we're doing. But we people have to do it within. This is what I tell people: the system works against you, and somehow you take that same system that works against you and make it work for you. Right. You spin that bottle the opposite direction.
Yeah, but that's
how I do it.
Fortitude, lots of patience, lots of mental anguish. I mean, I was.
But being a bull in the china shop doesn't work anymore.
And that's why I went to court. That's why I filed a claim. I tried to do this peacefully. This is the same sheriff department that shot and killed one of my pets in my driveway.
Oh, wow.
Same one. In the same house. Everything.
You killed one of my pets. That's fighting.
Yeah. I mean, my animals to me are like my children. Family. So to come outside and see my dog laying in my driveway after he had bit no one, and then there was no accountability for that. Now, they took a statement from my neighbor who was white. Totally disregarded it. The guy that was jogging down our street didn't even live in our neighborhood.
Right.
And my dog chased him, came back into the yard. By the time the cops showed up, dog was back in the yard asleep.
On your property?
On my property. Yeah, I got a circular driveway. That's where the dog was killed at.
So it's okay for them to shoot your pet, but if you was to shoot some dog attacking you go to jail for animal cruelty.
Exactly. I mean, it was a total pleasure killing.
Yeah.
But now, before we get too far along with this conversation, what'd you come up with your national anthem search, sir?
It just said it just has the Star Spangled Banner on there. That's all.
Go into the extra verses in the.
No, that's all it came up.
I'll look it up later on.
Yeah, make sure you post it along with this interview.
Oh yeah. Well, and
could you bring me back to that other page?
Yeah, I got you. But I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I guess like my whole point is that I agree that the system is rigged in a lot of ways. But it's not rigged just specifically. For me, it's more a monetary thing. Like it's rigged against people that aren't a part of the elite.
Exactly. Well, my attorney basically, my attorney basically admitted it to me. Yeah. Oh, this is how they do. They drag it out, and for a little while there, he kept asking me, "Well, I'm going to need more money. I'm going to have to file an amendment, addendum. I'm going to need more money." And then all of a sudden, I talked to him, talked to the people he worked for, the law. All of a sudden, he stopped asking for money. He hasn't asked me for money in months now. Yeah. Because I finally said, you know what? I think you're working with them. So because they all know each other.
Oh,
These people, the same people go out to dinner.
Court. Is this done in state?
This is federal. This is federal court.
Oh, wow.
And that's why when the light starts to shine, it's going to be like turning the lights on and roaches running out of the kitchen. Trust me.
You know, there's another law in California that I don't like.
Which one is that?
It's the one that if you own a weapon, your weapon have to be in your glove box, and then the magazine has to be in the trunk.
Yeah.
Now, how is that? How does that help you if you're in a jam?
I'll tell you this, and I told the people. Because I spoke with the people from the Department of Justice. I'll tell you this. Whenever I leave my house, I'm armed. I love the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Love it. Especially in my community where police have no accountability. Certain sections of my community where I appraise real estate, I have to go into these communities.
Yeah. Right.
And being a retired correctional officer, I know the saturation of parolees, people on probation.
So you know the
people still
mentality
attached.
of
And nobody likes a black man driving around slowly looking at houses. Trust me.
Oh, and profiling
I mean, I've been
is super
threatened.
what type
real.
of car are you in? That makes a difference.
I'm in a black truck. A
What-
black
what-
truck
what
with
kind?
the license plate that says For Satan, Dodge Ram, 2000.
Oh hell! Oh, cops gonna be looking at you then. Now, if you
Yeah.
told me you were in a Beamer or a Mercedes, they probably won't pay you no
Yeah,
attention.
you know what? If you're African American driving through neighborhoods, looking slowly at people's houses, I mean, I've been screamed at. I've been chased. I got chased by a dude on a bike. I've been chased by people in vehicles. What are you doing? Why are you taking pictures?
And did you hear lately in the news about that African American that was jogging through the neighborhood and the father and son and one of the neighbors went and
course.
gunned them down? In fact, I believe that's still in the courts right now.
Aubrey and the DA just got brought up on charges for that
Yes.
because everybody knows each other, and she was trying to protect the murderers.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm totally familiar
She
with
got
it.
indicted.
Right. And this is what I'm saying about when they killed my dog. Now, we had a white guy jogging through my neighborhood. My dog chased him. They killed my dog. And I'm like, officer, this guy doesn't even live here. And this shows you how white privilege works. Me and my neighbor both said, where do you live at? Asked the guy. And he said, oh, I live down the street. And we were like, well, we've never seen you. And the officer expeditiously moved on to a different conversation. And I'm like, this guy doesn't even live here and he's trespassing. Basically, I live on a private street.
Right.
My road is for ingress and egress of the people that live further down the street, property owners.
Yeah.
He shouldn't even been in my neighborhood.
Right.
And he winds up being the cause of my dog getting killed by the sheriff's department. So yeah, I'm looking for justice.
Okay, so I and everything you just said, I agree with, and I'm honestly one of those white people. I do not get offended when I hear the term white privilege, because the way I define white privilege is a little bit different than some of my friends that get all freaked out about it because they're just like, they're just saying just because I'm white, I've never had this struggle. I'm like, no, it's a perception thing. Like if you and I, after the show, we're going to take a picture together. Mm-hmm. If they didn't listen to this interview at all, they knew nothing about my background, nothing about yours, and you just asked a generic poll, which one of these two is more educated? Which one of these two makes more money? Which one of these two has ever went to prison? Guaranteed they're going to assume I make more money, assume I'm more educated than you, college degree or whatever, however they consider.
But that's a
educated.
true statement about the prison. He spent 10 years in there as a Christian.
But I mean that's honestly. So when I hear white privilege, I don't get offended by it. I'm like, it's a perception,
right? And
and
everybody in this country, we've been mentally conditioned.
Yeah, and I get that
to think that way.
So like the whole white privilege thing. I think we all need to, as white people, we need to grow up and understand what's going on with that one.
Right.
But I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but the thing is like one of the main things that Steve and I have been trying to push for so many years through Veterans in Politics is, and Steve's brought it up a couple times already, to educate yourself on who you vote for. So like all the different scenarios that you just came up with were unfortunate, and the system is rigged in a lot of ways. But you can't change the system unless we get people to vote for actual just politicians,
Right.
police chiefs, judges. We can't get to the point where you want us to be at unless we do that. So now that you're running for Congress, like, what's your plan to try to get to that point?
To try to get people to vote?
To vote, and to vote these people out of office that are making these effed up laws.
You have to raise the level of consciousness to people to let them know that the people have the power and not the money. Yeah. That's why we're not getting people in office that do a damn thing for the people. These people do more things against the people than for the people.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
got to get money out of politics because that's where people are losing their power at. They don't know that all these special interest groups, and I'm totally pro-union. I was part of the CCPOA, which is California Correctional Peace Officers Association, California. But I don't want them loading up the system where the politicians can purchase so much media that they do a low-grade brainwashing of their constituents.
Right. Yeah.
And this is how people with low morals, no ethics, and no true, honest concern for the citizens. So we got to get money out of politics. That's the first thing, that's the best thing this country can do is get money out of politics.
And have term limits on the Senate and Congress.
Right.
I don't understand if the president has term limits. What's up with Congress and Senate?
It's an absolute asinine concept to think that you're going to keep a person in office for 20 years.
Is that something you'd be willing to sign on?
Of course.
I believe who wanted that? What's that ran for president? That Republican that wanted term limits.
What was that? Rand Paul?
It wasn't Rand Paul. It was the Baird. He ran for president. Ted Cruz. Yes, Ted Cruz.
I wouldn't vote for him.
Yeah, he wanted term limits.
Ted Cruz is the same one that told Trump to stop talking about my wife, Cindy, or whatever her name is, right?
Yeah.
And the same one that was licking Trump's boots by the end of his administration.
Same guy.
Same guy, Texas.
I just liked him because he liked term limits. I liked him because he
fled down to Cancun.
Hey, you know what? I take the qualities that I like about people, and I'll just put them over here to the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I try to work with people I can work with when they're doing good.
Yeah.
Kind of like Frederick Douglass said, I'll work with anybody that's trying to do good.
Yeah, I can work with anybody as long as they're trying to better society. And if Ted Cruz wants term limits for Senate and Congress, I'm all about that. Let's get it done.
Right.
Let's
work together where we can work together.
You know how these congressional and these Senate seat and the state level, the assembly and the state senate, it's like a fraternity.
Right.
If your name is on a piece of legislation and they don't like you,
right,
that legislation is not going to make it out of committee.
Popularity contest.
And then even if it's the best legislation ever that's going to help mankind and help the American populace, it will not make it out of committee because they don't like you and you're sponsoring it. And it is sad, but it's a stupid political game that they should stop playing these political games with people's lives.
And you guess what? It would happen if the voters hold people accountable.
Exactly. But the voters don't know.
Well, that's because the way the whole game is played is all the politicians get in and play the same damn game.
Right.
Got to start electing politicians that actually care about the people.
Exactly.
Insanity, right? Mm-hmm. Different result. Not going to happen with the same people.
So congressional district number 25, what's the population?
We have 917,000 people. 917.
That's only 2 assembly districts.
Okay, well, that's our congressional district until we get redistricted.
Because I just was informed, 500,000.
We got demographics are 44% white, 43% Hispanic, only about 10% African American, and 8.7% Asian.
Okay.
So, it is the whitest district in California.
On a race issue, how do you stand a chance of winning?
By talking to people and telling them the damn truth. People that want to hear the truth.
Okay.
People want truth and honesty in politics. Somebody they can look up for. That's why you can't motivate people to get out and vote because they go, all these crooks are the same. I could have voted for this crook 2 election cycles ago.
Okay.
Until they get somebody that's willing to fight for them.
I got it.
And I'm a Marine, so I fight.
So instead of calling you devil dog, I'll call you Satan, right?
Yeah. I'm an atheist.
So I got one. That's the last question I'm going to leave you with. So I believe you when you say you're willing to fight and tell the truth, because no one is going to want to be called that and run for political office.
Can't even say it. That. That's not. You act like you saying the N word. No, that. Satan.
Well,
Just say it. Satan. I'm
Satan,
free.
yeah.
I'm the freest black man in America.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just saying that, like, I was trying to be polite,
Samuel L.
but
Jackson might disagree with you.
I was trying to be
Let me
polite.
see him get in office.
But if you don't want me to be polite,
No,
fine,
I
Satan.
don't want you to be polite. Be honest with me.
Okay. So, but to use the term Satan and run for Congress,
Yeah. Well, I'm also I also do political activist stand-up comedy.
oh, okay.
I've performed all over the country. I do public speaking. I've performed for the American Atheist Association a couple of times, the American Humanists, secular people who, where I live at, well, in the city of Lancaster, they have more churches per capita than anywhere else in the state of California. And to be someone who is secular and a humanist, atheist, is basically like living under the Taliban.
Yeah.
That's how I'm treated in my community. People in my community like me don't have a voice.
Well, I think it's ironic that you say that because I actually feel that way on the opposite spectrum because I feel like I don't have a voice and I'm attacked constantly because I am a white, male, straight Christian. Mm-hmm. And anytime I say anything, somebody's fucking offended by it.
Be more specific. Who?
Just in general, like I gotta be careful about every single pronoun I use.
Okay, and you know what?
Just what you said. When I said that instead of Satan.
Yeah. And you know what?
You were instantly like, what, you can't say it?
This is one of the biggest reasons we keep politics and religion separate.
I agree with
Our
you.
founding fathers
I agree.
wanted it to be this way.
Yeah. But remember, that's not actually a part of the Constitution.
Well, is this a Christian nation or not?
It is.
I don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah.
Is it they say we're a Christian nation. The same Christian nation that had slaves.
The nation was founded upon judo.
Yeah, the Puritans came over.
Right.
And they started almost immediately dispensing smallpox and blankets and disease to the Indians.
But we also have to admit that who are the ones that started selling the slaves? Right?
Think about,
they came from Africa.
Let's have
and
this
who
conversation.
were the first slave owners?
Listen,
Indians.
Listen, Indians.
It wasn't white people.
Listen.
It was Indians.
Let's talk about
Native Americans.
the political structure of this country. If you want to talk about slavery, we can go back to the 1619 Project.
I want to focus more on your campaign. Sorry.
Okay. Vote for Satan.
Hey, I'm a strong
Power to the people.
I'm a strong believer in the First Amendment, and I honestly, I want to thank you for coming on.
Well, I love you too.
Because
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Here's my thing. I may not agree with everything you just said, but I'll fight till the death for you to be able to say it.
Exactly. And
So,
that's why I have my family has a strong tradition of military service, and I felt obligated to get myself in the Marine Corps as expeditiously as possible to fulfill my service to my country.
And I appreciate your service.
Mr. Steve Hill,
Yes,
Satan, a.k.a. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Could you look into the camera and tell folks why they should go to the voting booth and vote for you for Congressional District 25 of California?
You should go.
And your point of contact.
You should go to the polls to vote for Steve Hill, a.k.a. Satan, because the power belongs to the people. The people have the power, not the politicians, not special interests, not corporations. Corporations are not people, my friend. The people have the power. And until you vote the right people in office, that's when we'll start having an effective government.
Thank you so much. But before we end this segment, folks, that's Stephen Hill, a.k.a. Satan. He's running for Congressional District number 25 out of California. And before we end this program, I just want to read off the 13 names of the last military personnel to pass away in Afghanistan. I want to read their branch of service, their rank, their name, and their age. And I think that's very significant, knowing the ages of these folks that gave their lives for freedom. I don't know why there were 13 military folks all in one area. You know, if they're doing searches, it's supposed to be two. I don't know why 13 was in one area, but that's besides the point. I wasn't there, so I really don't know, but I still don't understand why 13 was in a group like that to wipe them all out by one suicide bomber. But U.S. Marine Sergeant Johanny Rosaria Picardo, age 25. U.S. Marine Corporal Hunter Lopez, age 22. U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui, age 22. U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, age 20. U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmidt, age 20. U.S. Marine Lance Corporal David Lee Espinoza, age 20. U.S. Marine U.S. Navy Corpsman Maxton Savick, age 20. U.S. Marine Staff Sergeant Darren T. Hoover, age 31. U.S. Marine Corporal Deegan Page, age 23. U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Knus, age 23. U.S. Marine Corporal Humberto Sanchez, age 22. U.S. Marine Sergeant Nicole Gee, age 23. U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Dylan Marula, age 20. I hope I got all of them. Did I get all 13?
Yeah.
May God bless their soul and hope that they're in a better place than they were, and hope that we don't have to experience this for a very, very long time. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.